All right, good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. So, today we have quite an interesting subject to look at. Remember, we're just coming off our two relativist moral theories, subjectivism and cultural relativism or popular relativism. And now, after we've seen pretty sufficiently, I hope, some of the shortcomings of the relative moral theories, and those of us who want to find a good moral principle that seems like it extends across cultures, across time, across genders, groups of people, etc., right, applies everywhere all the time, similar to the laws of physics or the scientific method, etc. Now we begin that, and we're going to be looking at two consequentialist moral theories. These are moral theories that judge the right or wrong of something based on the consequences, the outcome. Similar to the trolley car issue of the 5 versus the 1, right? If you can save 5, rather than saving just 1, 5 is better than 1, right? The outcome determines. And the first of our moral theories is what's known as ethical egoism. But before we do that, I wanted us to look at another claim that was in our reading. And this claim is known as psychological egoism. So, psychological egoism essentially says the following. A person cannot help but act in ways they believe to be in their self-interest. It's a big claim. You mean everything everyone does, they do because they believe it to be in their self-interest? Well, don't people have free will? Right? Don't people get to choose whether they want to do something or not do something? To say that everything they do is done for this, it's a big claim. So, as always, can we disprove it? Right? Do we agree with it or not? Seems like not everything everyone does is actually in their self-interest. Yeah? Can I get a witness? A lot of people have a lot of self-destructive behavior. And so how do we account for that? And is this a moral theory? Is this a normative claim or a descriptive claim? Right? Is this claiming that's true or false or right or wrong? Well, hopefully if you thought it through, you agreed with descriptive claim. Right? Remember, descriptive claim, more like a factual claim, right? Rather than a value claim. Descriptive claim just says true or false, people act this way. Similar to the 3 categories of goods we discussed. In fact, it's worth comparing how the 3 categories of goods relate to this claim about human behavior, human nature. Now I feel like I'm pointing my finger. Yeah. Now listen here. But descriptive claim. It's not saying it's good or bad, right or wrong. It's just saying, for better or worse, humans do what they do because they believe it's in their best interest. Now you might say to me, Mr. Doak, what about all the times people are not acting in their best interest? What about all the times people are acting in self-destructive ways? What about all the times people are acting not clearly for their own interests or for their own sake, but seemingly for other people's sake or for the environment's sake or for the sake of the animals or for the, right? So these are good things. And hopefully you came up with some actions, some list of actions here. And I just hate having to predict, I'd much rather we do this in class. But I would assume that many of you came up with some of the following. What's a good first one? We might say, all right, what about people who engage in harmful behavior? Harmful behavior. Well, what does that mean? Drugs, alcohol, because everyone likes to consider it not a drug, or poison. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Junk food, probably. Yeah. People ever eat junk food? Junk food. What else are harmful behavior? Ooh. You ever been in an abusive relationship? Why the heck do people stay in those? Seems like they happen. What about people who have gambling issues, cheating issues. I'll use infidelity. Keep the words alive. Infidelity. What other good ones are? What about people who are cutters, self-mutilators, right? It happens. Bulimic, yeah. People who break laws. Yeah, criminals, right? They break laws, they go to jail. Like, don't you know that this isn't in your best interest? What about people who neglect health and fitness? Like, is it any question? Is there any remaining question? The long-term immediate benefits of exercise, nutrition, and diet? Yeah, like no one's in the dark. No one but how many people don't exercise as often as they do? And you know the ones who do exercise? I'm sure I've said this before. Like, they're not exercising because they know it's good for them, right? I mean, if you look at the evidence, most people exercise because they want other people to like looking at, right? It's all because of wanting to look good for others, either the same sex or the other, right? Which is interesting. Like, motivate. You know, it's interesting what motivates people. Yeah. Persuasion or force. Those are the two motivators. Or candy and the whip, right? They probably overlap. So, what else? Oh, bug chasers. You guys probably don't even know what those are. But people who want to go get HIV, they want to become, just absurd stuff. Other harmful behavior. Gambling, spending, credit card, shopping. Pretty good list. Okay. What other behavior or what other actions seem to run counter to this? Remember, this is a big claim. This is a claim that says everything everyone does falls into this category. They're doing it for this reason, whether they know it or not. And so we only need to find one instance that really falls out of this, and we can just save our time and do something else. All right, now I think we've got a pretty good list for harmful behavior. Another good objection to this might be, well, what about altruistic actions? Yeah? Oh, that's not how you spell it, huh? Altruistic actions. What are these? These are selfless. Dang, get your spelling right. Selfless. Don't people act altruistically, selflessly? What are some examples of selfless actions? Donating, right? Charity, volunteer. Come on, now. I never said I was a speller or a typist. Volunteering. Spent my childhood volunteering. Like, good Lord. What other type of selfless actions? How about being a parent, huh? Right? Like, you want to talk about giving up pretty much all of your freedom for someone else. Jumping on a grenade. Saving someone in traffic or subway. I'm sure you guys have heard of the elderly gentleman in New York who saw the person fall on the railroad tracks. Literally had his grandchild with him, and everyone just stands around. The person's down. This guy jumps down. Subway's coming. Lies on top of the man. Holds him down. Their combined clearance was 21.5 inches, and the subway cleared at 22 inches. Yeah, totally. He was a black guy. It was a white guy, right? And they were like, "Why did you do this? You don't know him. You didn't have any. You had." He's like, "I did what anyone could have done, what anyone should have done." Something like that. It's like, hope you guys know who the heroes are out there, right? They're not anyway. I'm not going to get on a diatribe. So, soldiers, brothers in arms, sacrifice themselves to save their comrades all the time, right? Doesn't any one of those instances disprove the claim of psychological egoism? Well, I'd ask you to say, well, what would psychological egoism say? But let's see, what other examples can we come up with? Altruistic actions, donating. Lastly, for now, let's say you have someone who dedicates life to a cause, i.e. animal, environmental, religious, etc. Yeah, it seems like they put this thing first, or business, right? Or even family, right? Some people would say their family. They put their family above their own life. And how many instances do we have through history of people who have sacrificed their own life for their family or for their country? We're patriotic. What the hell does patriotism mean these days, huh? Not going to go on a rant. So, let's have a look-see. Harmful behavior. All right. The claim is you can't help but act in ways you believe to be in your self-interest. Yeah? So is everyone just going around being happy all day? No, nada. When people do drugs, hard drugs, or drugs, I suppose it's a fair question. The libertarian in me is for, just all decriminalization. Pretty sure it's not in the oversight of the federal government under the Constitution. We had to pass constitutional amendments to prohibit alcohol, but instead we have a great private prison population, and who would want to interfere with that? So, what happens when people do drugs knowing it's harmful to them? I mean, there are people out there who are drinking and smoking and shooting up who know they're leading themselves straight into the grave, and they're doing it knowingly, intentionally to a certain extent. Doesn't this disprove the descriptive claim, the factual claim on human behavior? Well, what would a psychological egoist say? They would say, no. In the moment that person is deciding to have that drink, even though they know it's ruining their relationship, it's ruining their health, their liver, their paycheck, what are they thinking when they're drinking? They're choosing to put it up. No one's got a gun at their head, right? No one's pointing a gun at them. What are they thinking then? Well, anyone who knows anyone like this knows they're justifying it in the moment. They're like, this is an immediate self-interest, right? It feels good, even though I know later down the road the consequences, eek, right? Same with junk food. People go eat junk food even though they know this is their bane, this is the thing they want to most get under control, right? Except when you're miserable, eating's easy. Or didn't you know? Some of you know. Isn't this not in your self-interest, and don't you know it? Well, in the moment, you justify it, right? Because aren't we great at justifying stuff? Yeah. Oh, it was a horrible day. I deserve it. It's been hard. Whatever. I'm going to do the thing I know I shouldn't do. You either do the right thing, or you do the pleasant thing. The good thing, or the easy thing. Yeah? Ooh, we got good ones on here. Good work, Eric. Abusive relationship. Unfortunately, there's a lot of abusive relationships out there. Why do people stay in them? Because often it's only one person that's abusive. Why does a person who's getting abused stay in a relationship? Clearly they're justifying it somehow. Oh, they didn't mean it. Well, they really love me. Well, it's for the kids. It's... there's a whole host of reasons. It's just easier to stay there. Maybe they'd be threatened or their life would be endangered if they left. It's like, you don't want to stay in a situation because you're fearful for... that's rough. But immediate self-interest, long-term harm. Gambling, cheating on somebody.